then you see there is no loop, right? If you take a look at the cyan edge, the thickness is shown here. Let me see. Okay. Weight enhance normal preview. Okay. Now all the edges are thin lines. So you see, there is no loop, but still all nodes are included. And this network without any loop, we can call it a tree. Okay, because here you have a link here, and then you have two branches split into two branches. And if you follow this branch, then you go on, and here it is split into two branches again, and you follow this one, you go back to the joint, follow the branch, and then go back to the previous joint, and then follow the other branch. So you can go on like this until you traverse all the nodes. So this is a tree, and this tree has a specific relation to the previously this one has loops, but this one don't have loop, but they have the same set of nodes. Okay, so we call this a tree in the network. Okay, by removing some edges. So this tree is important for the algorithm that unrolls a mesh object. I simply go through the process, and then later I will explain the detail. So after we derive the tree, then we can go on and we try to unroll it. So far you are not able to see it, but then we need to do some geometric transformation so that we are able to locate all the figures into the right position. And if we take a look, then you see this. They are too much because some pieces are all repeated. Actually, I think here we need to only 2 rows and 4, 5 columns. Okay. And maybe we need to separate them a little bit. Okay, so the entire mesh, now it is dissected into 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These 2 are redundant because it simply repeats the last 2. Okay. Okay, and they are all planar. So if we turn it, you see they are all on the XY plane. And this line shows the folding edge. Okay, and the boundary is the cutting edge. So we can use a laser cutting machine to cut the shape. And these are flippers for glue to connecting another piece together. Okay, it is optional. So we can cut it with these flippers or without. Okay, so eventually the whole mesh, we can fabricate it by cutting these 10 pieces and then fold it based on the angle which is required, and then glue these pieces together, then we can produce this mesh. Get it? and then you can create your own mesh, and then this program, this process, you follow this process, it will create all the shape which is required to cut. Okay. Victor, have you been using Ivy? No? And before, how did you do things like this?
I've never done this.
You haven't done this? Okay. Okay. It is not so complicated if you understand the process. Okay. And we can try a more complicated shape. Here the example shows here they have another mesh. Which is this one. Okay. And we simply, first we triangulate it. Okay, this is a C# program which try to weld vertices, but I think it is not necessary because here we don't find any overlapping vertices. Okay, so after we put this as an input, and because now it creates more pieces, so we have to change some parameter. First, we can check how many pieces. Road mesh. 109 pieces, which is needed. So we have to rearrange it. Before we have only 2 rows and 6 columns. Now, let me disable it. Now maybe we need 10 rows and 11 columns. Enable. I'm not sure if the offset distance is enough, but then we can take a look at it. Okay, and I think the last 2 are identical. Okay, so this one is not necessary. So these are all the. I mean, you can consider this as shop drawing. Okay, and it is marked with some ID number, and we can adjust like the distance until some of them overlap. Okay, or you can bake it and then rearrange it so that you don't waste any material. And the text size, the size of the text, we can adjust another parameter, which is this one. So now maybe they are too large, so we make it smaller. Okay, until you think it is okay. Okay, and this is the flipper. The flipper seems too large, so we can adjust another parameter. Where is it? Here. Width, we make it smaller. Okay, and this flipper will decide the angle of it. Okay, and have sharper or not so sharp. Okay, but when it is not so sharp, then sometimes it might be overlapping with the flipper next to it. Okay, so you simply have to decide. Okay. Okay, sometimes if the angle here is too sharp, then these 2 flippers may overlap with each other. Okay, so I want you to know what is the purpose of going through the whole process. Okay, and then with these drawings, we can use laser cutting machine to cut it and then to fold it. If it's metal or whatever material, fold it, and then we glue it on these flippers, then we can create the object. Okay, any questions? So this example shows the overall process. But then the following examples shows you how to do it step by step. And along the way, I need to explain to you what is graph and why graph is so much important when we want to implement a process for unrolling the mesh object. Okay. Questions? You never ask questions. Why? You don't have any questions? No? Really? Okay, so please download IV102 and install.
I have a question.
Sorry?
So,
Yeah.
it will arrange this like one row, two row, because there are so many separate components. If I print it out, how do I connect them? Where should I align?
Okay, so that's the reason why they need to put this text. When you look at the shop drawing, you see there are, right? You see? Okay, so you have to match. Okay, like this one is 10293, and I think you will figure it out. Okay, this surface, this triangle is 3737. Okay, and this edge is 10293, or maybe it has to be okay. This flipper has to connect it to 10293. This is a surface, a face. You see this piece, the entire piece, all triangles start with 3, right? 3288, 3736, 3289. So for this part, we have to find piece number 10. Okay? And then in piece number 10, you'll be able to find 292, which is a face. And this has to be connected to that face. Okay, so let's try to find 10292. This is 3, so where is 10? This is 25. Wow, not so easy. 13. What is this? 11. Okay, so 10 should be 10 should be here, right? Sorry, I don't remember which number is that. But anyway, you'll be able to find it, right? So if it is 10,300, then it should be this edge, okay? And if there are more than one edge, then I think you can compare the length of it. Okay. I guess the way they do it, maybe you never, oh yeah, here, yes, you have 2 edges. Okay, it's okay, because on this side it also shows that this edge is without clippers, right? Because you only need one. Okay, there's also an option so that you can have both. Okay, but I just chose to have one clipper. So this edge is connecting to 9299. Okay, so I think the mark is very clear. You just need to find out where is which. Okay, questions? So if you unzip the file, let's see. if you unzip IV examples, okay, this one is for the plugin. So you copy these two, okay, copy these two files. And before you unzip this file, make sure that you uncheck the block. Okay, here I have already done it. And after this, you unzip it, and then it creates these two files, IV and IV script.dll, and copy this file to the component library. Okay, and you'll be done. And these are the set of examples. The one I just showed you is the first one. This one is kind of the overview of the entire process. And then the example from the second one shows you step by step. Okay, what are steps? Okay, and why we need to do that. Okay, and the last ones, there are some additional decoration. For example, you want to cut holes in each faces, okay, and you also want to include this part into your shop drawing, so it is necessary for that. Okay. So,
one question.
Yeah.
Is it important to find the mountain fault or the valley fault? Because if you have a material that is have a certain thickness, you need to cut.
yes.
So it's easier to fold.
Yes, when you show this shop drawing, you'll be able to put this line into different layers or different colors. Here, which is here, you see? No, not here. I have to select it. Okay, so these are the cutting edges. So you can use this preview, you see, custom preview, okay, and you assign a different color for that, okay, for the cutting edge. And I think this is either the mountain or the valley fault, okay, and this is the other one, okay. So you can have three colors, okay, one for the cutting edges, one for mountain fault, and one for valley fault. Okay, and when you use laser cut to cut, maybe you have a dot lines for the valley fault, okay, and you have dash lines for the mountain fault, okay, and then you have how do you call that? The more intensive laser to cut the edges, and also you have the text in a different. I mean, anyway, you just find some way to show them, okay? Maybe very light laser to simply mark on the material that you are doing, okay? Okay, so let's go to the second example. Here we start with this mesh. Okay, this is not a planar mesh. First, I want you to think, how can we unroll it? How can we unroll it? If we have two faces, okay? The angle is theta. And then we use the first face, the first surface as the base. And then we have to rotate the other face using this edge, this shared edge as the pivot, right? And then we do the geometric transformation to rotate it on this axis with this angle, right? But how about if we have another face and maybe another? Okay, how can we do that? We cannot do it all at once, right? So we have to choose one face as the initial face. Okay, for example, we choose this one. We mark it 0. And then for the rest of it, now we have to treat the rest of them as one part and rotate all 3 faces together using this edge as the pivot and then rotate it. So we first unroll these 2 faces first. So after we do that, then maybe we get something like this. Okay, and then okay, get it? You can use a piece of paper, then you try to unroll it, then you will understand it, right? Long strip of paper, and then you fold it many times, whatever you like. You start from the first face, and then unroll the second face, so that you make the first face planar with the second face. And then all the rest simply follow this action of unrolling. And after we have unrolled the first face and the second face, then we can ignore the edge between the first and second. And we do the same thing for this entire face, and then unroll this face and this face. Okay, and after the second step, we get one more surface planar to the previous ones. Okay, and we go up until we unroll all faces. And the condition is that this is one linear linkage. It's in a sequence. How about if it has branches? If you how about if it is like this? This is the first face, and then we use this edge as the pivot. And imagine that if there's a folding angle, then we unroll this surface together with all the 3 other faces. And then this is the next one. And then we can choose any of the 3, right? So maybe we choose this one as the next one and unroll this one. Okay, flatten this one. And then maybe this face. So it's like traversing through all the faces. You need to decide a sequence of it. So if we connect all these nodes, then we get something like this. Okay? And there's an order of all the nodes for the traversing. First, we take this one, and then we go follow the edge here, and then follow the edge here, because it is a dead end, so we don't need to do anything afterward. So we go back to the previous node, and then find if there are some other branches where we haven't visited yet. So okay, this one we haven't visited, so we go to this one and flatten this face, and then there's no more branches, so we move back, and then there's yet another one to be flattened. Okay, so this is called a way to traverse a tree. Okay, and if there is something more, okay, whatever, we can go on. So when we flatten this part, this part, all the rest will go together with this one, right? And then we can go on after we have done this one, we go on for this one and the 6, and then there are 2 options. You simply choose one of them, 7 and 8. Okay, so the entire mesh will be unrolled step by step, following the sequence, following the way we traverse all the faces. Okay, now I want you to think about the red figure. We can consider this as a kind of network. Okay, or I want you to be familiar with this term. It's called graph, not graphics. Okay, graph. Graph is a mathematical construction which consists of nodes and edges. Okay, all the vertices, they are nodes, and the edges are line connecting nodes. So if you look at these red nodes and the lines, it is a graph, right? So far we are thinking it as a mesh. We want to build this mesh back into its 3-dimensional shape. Okay, and when we unroll it or when we unfold it, it becomes like this. Okay, and if we can represent the shape as a graph, the red one, okay, but then this red graph has a dual graph. If we consider this enclosed area as a kind of object, and then you simply find any point, okay, usually we use the center location as a node for the black graph, and then we connect all the nodes. When there is a shared edge between the 2 surfaces, then we connect this node with this node. Okay, there is a shared edges, then we connect this node with the node. Okay, so the black one is a dual graph to the red one, and it is also true the opposite way. So we can also thinking that the red one is the dual of the black one. Okay, so in order to figure out how to unfold the mesh object, we need to convert the graph to find the dual graph of the red one, and then figure out the process for unfolding the infrastructure by traversing the node. Okay, and this is not the only order, the only sequence that we can follow. In fact, we can start with any node we like. Okay, we can start with number 4, right? So from 4, we have 2 choices, either going to 1 or going to 5. And we just need to choose one. For example, we choose 1. So if I write down the order for traversing, then I start from 4, right? And then if I choose the next one, so I get 1. And then after I visit 1, I have 3 choices, 0 to 3. Okay, if I choose 0, and there's no way to go on, so I move back. Okay, this is called depth first traversing. You always try to go as far as possible until you get into a dead end. So now we have 2 and 3. Okay, so you choose one, either one. If we choose 2, okay, and this is a dead end again, so 3 is the only way. So we have finished 0, 2, and 3. So there is no more branches that hasn't been traversed for node 1. Okay, so we finish this branch. Now we go back to 4. And 4 has another branch that hasn't been visited, which is 5. So we go to 5. Okay, and there's only one connecting node, which is 6, so you don't have to choose. And now you have 7 and 8 optional, so we choose 7, and finally 8. Okay, after we complete 8, there's no more node to be visited. Okay, so this is the unroll sequence. First, you find out the angle between, rotational angle between 4 and 1, and then you unroll the path which is connected to 1 using this edge as the pivot. Okay, and then now you have flattened 4 and 1, right? Now you go to this one and then use this edge as the pivot and then unfold 0. After you have done this, 4, 1, 0 become one planar surface. And then you go on, and then eventually you have all the 8 surfaces in a plane, on a plane. Okay? Okay. But we haven't finished the thing yet. Imagine that you have a cube. How many ways to unfold it? Usually, to me, I'm most familiar with this one. Right? But this is not the only way. Okay. Because if we want to draw the dual graph of it, okay, this is face number 0 and 1, 2, and then the one on the back is 3, and then here on the back is 4, like a dice, right? Oh no, the dice is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if it is like this, so when we start from 0, so 0 is connecting to 1 and to 3, also to 4, and also to 5. No, not to 5, to 2. Sorry. Okay, and 2 is connecting to 5, right? So 5 is here, and 3, 4, and 1, they are also connecting to 5, right? And then 1 is connecting to 4, and wow. 4 is connecting to 3, 3 is connecting to 2, and 2 is connecting to 1. Okay, I don't know, maybe I made mistakes. Okay, but you see, there are many different ways to traverse it. Okay. But when we traverse this graph, we will visit all nodes, but not necessarily every edge. Right? We just need to make sure that we visit all nodes. But it's okay if there are some edges that we have not been going through. Okay. And the edges that haven't been going through are the edges that needed to be cut. Right? Get it? So when we visit this node, this network or this graph, if we mark the traversing, what is the condition that we need to comply with? You never have loops, right? If you unroll it one face after the other, what happens if you have loop? You don't know what to do, right? So you see, if we unfold this cube into a sharp drawing like this, then maybe this is a 0, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the graph, the dual graph. Okay, but in 3D, you see, there is a edge connecting 1 to 2, right? And also 1 to 4, and 4 to 3, and 2 to 3. And also 1 to 5, 3 to 5, 2 to 5. Okay, but when we unfold this cube into this cross shape, actually we keep only the edges that is inside this cross figure. But for all the edges which go outside of this figure, we are not using it. So they are the edges that has to be cut. So you see, these are the edges that need to be cut. You see, from 2 to 5, actually from 2 to 5, I should draw this way. I should draw it this way, because this is the edge that should be connected to 5, right? So this link should go out through this edge, and then connecting to 5 through this edge. And 2 to 3, this is the way, because this edge is going to be aligned with this edge when we fold it into this cube. And this edge is going to be aligned with this edge, so this graph edge is connecting from 2 to 1 through the 2 edges, and also 1 and 4, okay? And 1 and 5, I shouldn't have drawn this way. I should have drawn this way, right? Because sorry. Sorry, here, right? This edge is going to be aligned with this edge, okay? And remember, one of you just asked about the gluing. So if we have a flipper here, then we simply follow this edge. We know that this flipper has to be glued to here. Okay? And if we have a flipper here, then this part is going to be glued here. Okay? So using this graph representation, it is very clear how we unfold a three-dimensional mesh object and dissect into parts. And then also we know which are the edges that need to be brought together to make the object. Okay. A welded two manifold unified normal mesh is the input. Unified normal, which means all the faces are facing to one side. I mean, you don't mess up the normal vectors. Okay. And then we can use this component. This component is in IV. Here. graph from mesh. So we use this mesh to create the dual graph of it. Okay, it is difficult to see, but we can show it so that it is easier to look at. This is the graph. You follow these green lines, and this is the mesh. Okay, but together it's difficult to visualize. Maybe let me preview it. Okay, and if you click the right mouse button, you have some options to visualize it. So we can simply enhance the preview. Okay, so the mesh are shown in this dark and with red edges as the edge for each surfaces, each face, and on each face there is a node for the dual graph, which is represented with this small square, and then the edge connecting one node, one face to the other, is represented with this cyan edge. Okay, usually for simply a mathematical definition, the geometry of this connecting line is not important. Okay, you can connect it any way you like. You can bend it, you can use a curve, you can use whatever, but usually you simply use a straight line segment. But in this case, because the geometry is important, so the Ivy, they use this polyline, which is a curve on the two surfaces. Okay, so it is a polyline to connect them. Okay, so using this graph from mesh, we get the dual graph. Okay, sorry, I should turn it on. Okay, so far, so good, right? Questions? No? Okay, so this is the component that convert a mesh to its dual graph. But inside the data structure of this output, it also consists of the original mesh. It didn't throw it away. Okay, it is inside the definition. Okay, so if you take a look, this is kind of, I think it can be classified as the generic data. Okay, and this is simply a representation of it. Let's go to Ivy. And the other one, okay, graph from mesh. But in mesh graph, it is simply a placeholder. It's just like here in parametric geometry, you have line, you have mesh, you have breadths, you have points, okay? And in Ivy, you have yet another thing, which is a mesh graph. So this mesh graph is something like this, okay? And so actually, this is identical to what you get here, okay? But using this mesh graph, then you can somehow select some way to visualize it so that you have a better understanding of it. Okay, so if you click the right mouse button, then you have several choices here to set up how you want to visualize it. So this is the normal preview, okay, and then simple enhance the preview. So it becomes cyan for the nodes and edges. Weight enhance the preview. So some lines become widened, become thickened. So you can see the weight. Okay. And later we'll explain why we need weight. Okay. And right now you don't see thick lines because the weight is constant. Okay. And leaf distance enhance the preview. Leaf distance should, I think there is a node is marked as the root, which is the initial node. And then leaf distance is simply when it is a leaf, then it will mark how far is it from the root. Okay, and with this mesh graph, you can convert it back to its based mesh. So here, the mesh graph parameter can work as a visualizer for hidden mesh graph output, but can also directly cast the mesh graph type to a mesh. So this is the way to cast a mesh graph type to a mesh. And this is just the normal, the regular grasshopper mesh. Okay. So from here, from a graph mesh, we can go on. We can extract information from this graph. Okay, and we can use three specialized components: edge, node, and graph to mesh. Okay. So for edges, we get a set of output. The ID of faces, the number ID of the corresponding meshes. Okay, so these are the IDs. The polyline representing geometric connection between two nodes. So if we use the edge, okay, you see these are the polylines that connecting the nodes. Okay, and this is the line representing the geometry of the mesh edge. Okay, let's show it. Okay, these are the mesh edges. Okay, and this GE and TE, they are always intersecting each other in pairs. And this is the weight. Okay, and initially all weights are 0, so that when we show this mesh graph, you see they are all shown in very thin lines, because the weight of these edges are all 0. Okay, and then this is the node S3. The nodes, these edges are connecting to. So the edge, I think edge number 3, because here is 3, connecting node 52 to 54. The edge number 4 connecting 53 to 54. But why there is no 0, 1, 2? And this is node, and what is a angle S3. The dihedral angle between the faces separated by the edge. Okay, here this edge, for example this one, you see this is a polyline with 2 segments, and I think this angle is the represent here A. Okay, so this number. So actually this angle is the angle that we need for flatten or for unfolding the two surfaces. Okay. And what is B? Bend type. Okay. Sometimes you don't need to fold because it is planar when we in the 3D object. Okay, so it will be type 1 flat. And type 2, it will be convex. So if we look from outside, then it is a mountain fold. And if it is classified as 3, type 3, then it is concave. So this is a varifold. Okay, so you can use this component to retrieve information regarding edges of this dual graph. And another component to retrieve information regarding the nodes. For example, nodes for ID. Okay. And point, the locations. Okay, all these locations. The weight, initially they are all 0, but after we assign some weights, then the number will no longer be 0. And this is the edge. Each node may connect it to a number of other nodes. Okay, but because the graph is triangulated, so at most one node is connecting to 3 other nodes. And the number of nodes it is connecting to is called valence. So we can call this the valence of this node is 3, and the valence of this node is 2. Okay. And for example, like at this boundary triangle, the valence of this boundary triangle is 2 because it is connecting to 2 other faces. This is the edges. This is the neighbors, the neighboring nodes. Okay, and the number of it is also the valence. And the depths. How many faces you need to visit when you traverse from the root to this face. So if it is far away from the root, and then this number will be larger. I mean, in terms of far away, it is not the physical distance, but the number of faces that you need to traverse. Why it is -1? Let's see. The depth of the node in the tree graph, the number of steps from, not to the roof, but to the closest leaf. What does it mean by a leaf? If you think of this cross, this unflattened figure for the cube, we think about this and its dual graph. You see this node is going nowhere, it is a dead end. So this is a leaf, this is a leaf, this is a leaf, and this is a leaf. This is not a leaf, and this is not a leaf. Get it? Okay, so here, this one, the shortest distance to the closest leaf of this one will be 1. And this is also 1. Okay? And why in this case we have all -1? You know why? Because this graph has no leaf. There are all loops, but no leaf. Okay, so you cannot calculate the distance between the node to its closest leaf. Okay, and then node objects. Okay. So this is a part of the data structure. they use a kind of data structure to represent the node of the graph. Okay, so this is the component for edges, this is the component for retrieving information regarding node, and this is component to convert a mesh graph to a regular mesh. And then from here you can deconstruct the mesh and then retrieve information regarding vertices, faces, and whatever. Okay, so this is the first part. Maybe I should let you try to work on it. Okay, I want you to download it and then open the first exercise and create a mesh of your own. Okay, don't make it too complicated. You start from a very simple one. Okay, and then try to unfold it and see if you can create the sharp drawings for all the pieces that you need to fabricate. Okay? Start with a very simple one. Let me see what you can do. Yeah.
I'm trying to install the IV
Yeah.
component, but I think the Rhino version is
Not compatible?
Yeah, it shows the SDK version is not matched.
Yeah, it's too
So you
low.
also-
Same thing.
Okay. Then you go to Food for Rhino. Food for Rhino. Maybe you download earlier version.
You can't download earlier version.
You cannot?
Because IV expires.
Sorry?
IV expires, so older versions not supported.
Really?
The previous
Wow.
version is Rhino for Rhino 5.
Yeah. Let me check it. Okay. Anyway, I have kept the old version IV. I have it. Okay. But I'm not sure if we can use it. Here, I have the version for 2017. Okay, so I put this on the Moodle and you download it and you try if it works. I'm not sure, okay, but at least this is the older version. Okay, let me put them onto the Moodle. The folder. What happened? My session key. But if you have your notebook, then you should be able to upgrade your Rhino version, right? Okay, they are on Moodle now. You simply need to download them and then put them into the component library of Grasshopper. Okay, I am not sure if examples will work using this older version IV, but the basic concept and the process is the same. Maybe some component don't exist in the older version, or they can be modified so they're no longer compatible. But the process and the concept behind is the same. Okay, and actually we have been using this in, I don't remember, like last year or the year before last year. We've been using it in the class. Wow, it is too big. I cannot put it. saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also works for the example.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. It works for the example. Yeah. Okay, and we need to discuss about the presentation because I didn't notice that June 26 is a holiday because June 25th is the, how do you call that? The Dragon Ball Festival. You also have that in Indonesia? No? No, but you have Dragon Ball? No.
But we eat the triangle rice.
How do you call that?
Bacang.
Huh?
We call it bacang. Bacang.
百丈
Bacang.
蚂蚱 We call it 蚂蚱
Huh? Bacang.
Ba means meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, gajwa is also gajwa. Yeah. Yeah. And also Taiwanese dialect is in some words similar to Korean. Yeah. For example, like my name, if I think once I heard it, someone pronounced it in Korean, it's like a Seiko, Xuan Guang Seiko, something like that. I don't quite remember. Okay, but I know that many words pronounce quite similar to Taiwanese dialect. Okay. And so, what do you think? What we should do? Or we maintain the old schedule? What do you think? Boris, is it possible for you to complete the project in 1 week? Sorry? Hmm? Depend on the factory. Are you going anywhere in the vacation? Because you are going to have a very long vacation. From Thursday to the weekend, you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no classes. Or we make it on Wednesday. Or the week afterwards? What do you think? Wow.
June 24.
Sorry, June 24th. So it's Wednesday, right?
Yes,
So, what do you think?
it's okay.
Boris, is it okay to you, your team? June 24th? In the afternoon? And how about you, Victor? Is it okay we make the presentation Wednesday, June 24th? Yeah? If you are fine, then they are fine.
你那个课那一天要上课。
You have class on Wednesday.
Yeah.
What time? What hour?
1:30 to 4:30.
Okay, so we start from 4. Is it okay? So you have 2 more hours to work on it. And we are supposed to meet over there, right? Because you have installed that. Okay. I'll just go back to previous examples. So we have finished the 01, now 02. I'm going to talk about how we can assign weight so that we are able to somehow control the traversing of the mesh graph. Okay, here graphs can have weighted edges, and or weighted nodes. So the edges may have weight as well. The nodes can also have weight. Weight's value can be derived from any numerically expressible property. Okay, this is the key to obtaining a good segmentation and a nice subsequent unroll. Okay, so this is the way to control the unrolling sequence. So first we have a mesh like this, and then we convert it into a graph mesh. And here it shows 3 predefined edge weight assignments. Okay, here the first one, face angle edge weight. Okay, assign a weight value to graph edge based on the angle between the faces connected by an edge. So when we want to fold and unfold, sometimes we prefer to unfold the faces that are not so sharp angled, right? If it is very sharp angles, maybe we prefer to cut it and then later glue it back on. Okay, sometimes. Or sometimes, depending on how you are going to fabricate it or depending on your machinery. Sometimes you prefer to fold the sharp angles and you prefer to glue or to join the faces that are nearly planar. Okay? Depending on which way you like. So you can use this component to assign weight to all the joining edges depending on the angle between the 2 adjacent faces. And later you can decide which one is more preferred when the algorithm traversing. Okay. When we have a shape, unroll, I never know which one works, which one not. the program, when Ivy unrolled the shape into its flattened configuration, it may overlap, right? So for example, when there is a face connecting here, and it's go on like this, so it figured out that when it unrolled this surface, then this surface is going to be overlapped with the ones that have been unrolled. So it is forced not to unroll this one, but to replace it with a cut. Right? Topologically, you can unroll this surface, but when you unroll it on a plane, this part is going to overlap with a part that it has already unrolled. So they have to give up. Okay? You simply need to cut this and then start from somewhere else and then go on to the unroll process. Okay. So the sequence decide which edge need to be cut and which edge is more preferred to maintain as a folding edge. Okay? So the ones that has a larger weight is more preferred to maintain it as a folding edge. The ones which has a less weight, then it will be arranged in the later part of the queue of the sequence for unrolling. Then after all other faces are unrolled, then it's more likely that when it is unrolled, it is overlapped with the previous ones. Get it? So when an edge is weighted less, then the process for unrolling this edge will be going to postpone. And then the likelihood, the probability that it might be overlapping with some other parts is higher. So this edge is more likely to become a cut instead of a fold. Okay? So you need to decide if you think for your fabrication it is important to choose based on the face angle, then you can use this component to set the weight for it. Let me see. If we use this and then we try to retrieve the information from this, so graph edges. So after we assign weight to it, oh, sorry, let's show it visually first. Mesh graph. Simple impedance. And if we show also the base mesh, why it doesn't show the edges? I don't see the edges. Show weighted enhanced. You see, some lines are thickened. So I think they has more weight. They have more weight. Sorry, the sharp. I think the sharper angles get more weight, right? Can you tell? Here, there's a sharp angle, so the line is thickened. Okay, and here, this one, the angle is not so sharp, so the line is very thin. So the thickness of these lines depending on the angle, the folded angle. When it is sharp, then it is thickened. When it is not, then it's less. And we can also use a number to check it. So if we connect this one, and then here is the weight. So we take the list. Okay, so every edge is assigned with a weight. And the weights are also normalized, which means it is proportionally scaled to be in the range of 0 and 1. So if you want to reverse the weight, what can you do? You use 1 to minus it. Okay, so that we can reverse it. And let me use this one. I need only x. So for every x, I want to get 1 minus x. So if you want to reverse the weight, you simply recalculate it with 1 minus x. So the heavy weight becomes the less weight, and then we customize it. Go to IV, weight graph, we custom edge weight, okay, based on the weight, using the same graph. I think you can either use this one. Okay, let's compare this one with this one. How come? Why? What's that? The number of weight value should match. Maybe should I flatten it? Okay. So now this is the new weight, right? And if we compare to this one, you see the thinner one becomes thicker. The thicker one becomes thinner. Okay? So this is the way to reverse the weight based on your preference. Okay, so this is for the face angle edge weight. And what is this one? Face midpoint distance. Face midpoint distance, edge weight. Assign a weight value to graph edge based on the distance between the midpoint of the face, the edge connect. Value will be normalized. Okay. We have a node, and edge connecting this one. See, we have midpoint, and then the distance between these two midpoints. So the distance has something to do with the angle, right? But also the distance, the sizes of the faces. How far is the intersection to point? Okay. So if you want to consider I think it will depending on the material. For some material, maybe you want to set up the preference based on this midpoint distance. Or here, this one, assign weight to graph nodes based on the area of the mesh faces. So maybe you prefer to fold smaller pieces instead of larger pieces. Because if you cut out the pieces which is very small, then it's more difficult to fabricate. Okay, or the other way around. When you have larger pieces, you want to fold them instead of cutting them out. Okay, and you want to have smaller pieces, and then which later you can join them back together using some kind of element to join them. Okay, so these three components, I think you can find here. Okay, other edge weight? No. But where? So where are them? Where is this one? Okay, yeah. Okay, so you see, you can see from here where you can find it. Okay. And another one, custom face weight. So this one, assign a custom weight to graph nodes. Assign a custom, custom. So you will have to calculate the weight yourself. Okay, and I think for this one, it simply calculate the face area and also the number of faces. Okay, and then divide it, and then use this to assign the weight of it. Custom edge weight. Okay, so you calculate what is it, mesh edges, and then you count the number of edges. No, this one. Okay, I don't go through the details. Somehow it simply calculate component to use with the custom weight component. Okay, it's a cosine and sine and whatever, and you would like to prefer to assign the weight yourself, then you use this custom edge weight. Okay, after assigning the weight, then we can go on for the next step. Okay, let me turn it on this. Okay, go on. Document, assign weight, and then we need to do the primary segmentation, which is to create a traversing tree based on the graph and the assigned weight. Okay, so again, we start from this mesh. We derive this graph, assign weight. Okay, we have trying two different preferences for using the weight to represent them. Okay. And here in this group of components, there are different algorithms. Okay. And using different algorithms, you may get different types of traversing trees. Okay. Depth first, edge weight, which means you always go depth first. And the Dijkstra, it is dynamic programming, compute the minimum spanning tree for the mesh graph using Dijkstra algorithm. Okay. It is a very fast algorithm. Compute the minimum spanning tree for the mesh graph using Prim's algorithm. So there are algorithms proposed by different researchers. And this Kruskal also another algorithm. Okay, Kruskal cavity, which is another options. Okay, I'm not familiar with the detail of this algorithm, but maybe we do not need to know so much in details. Okay, usually I would choose Kruskal algorithm. Okay, so here this one is depth first. This one is Dijkstra, and this one is Prim, and this one is for Kruskal. And for each of these, it shows a different way of traversing the tree. Okay, you can compare them if you like. Okay, for example, like this one, I don't know which one is the initial node. Okay, usually you can find, and it is called root. The root of the tree is the first one to traverse. Okay, and what is this S? Start phase. Okay, you can decide which phase to start with. So for example, like this one, and then you choose, if you choose a different starting phase, then you see the tree become different. Okay, simply because you choose a different phase to start with. So it also matters how you choose the starting phase. And for each of these algorithms, you need to decide which one to choose. So for some trees, it makes very good segmentation, and for some trees, maybe it is not so good. So actually, it is also possible for you to start with a heuristic search or an optimization for the way of dissecting the mesh object. Okay, and this is the Kruskal algorithm, and here you don't specify the starting phase, but instead you specify a domain for the weight. Okay, and I think if it encounters some edge which is outside of the domain, then it will cut it anyway, no matter if it is going to have overlapping or not. You get it? You set a preferred range of the weight, and then when the algorithm is traversing and then it encounters an edge which is outside the bound of this domain, then it simply cut it and then start another tree. So the result of this algorithm is not necessarily only one graph, but one tree, but it can split the entire tree into more than one. Okay? And this one is MST There's the concativity detection. Okay, it will detect the concativity, and this is also the weight. You set the interval of the weight, and this one is also close call algorithm. But with this component, you can set the valence. Remember the valence? The maximum valence for the nodes. Okay? For example, this node has a valence 1, 2, and 3. And when it unfolds, okay, it becomes a kind of connecting face, a face that connects to other faces. So if you want to set a limit of the number of faces a face may connect it to, then you can set a limitation on the valence when the algorithm is trying to traverse. So when the valence is too large, it simply would choose the weight which is less and then cut it right away, no matter if it is causing the overlapping or not. Okay, the size is maximum number of nodes in one piece. So when it traverses, sometimes it is possible to go on and on and on to a very large number of faces. And maybe it is too long, too large, it's too difficult to fabricate, then you prefer not to continue on for too many faces. So you set a maximum face. So when it exceeds 50, then it cut it right away. Okay? So for every segmentation, for every segment, it consists of no more than 50 faces. Okay, so by using these algorithms, you can also control the way you want to dissect, and based on this dissection, you can unfold them. Okay. Multi-root edge weight tree, wow, there are simply too many. This is the graph. You can select multiple roots. So for every root, you get one tree. Okay, so in this case, you want to use face number 2 and face number 60 as trees. Let's take a look at this one. You see there are 2 trees, right? On the left hand side, this is another one tree, and on the right hand side, there's another tree. So maybe let's check where are the root, the node number 2 and the number 60. Subgraphs. So let's show group nodes. Points. Okay. So let's find out where are the number 2 and the number 60. This is the list, and we want to get number 2 and the number 60. We need to flatten it. Okay, these are the 2. And let's show them together with this tree. Okay, so because you specify that maybe this is number 2, so it starts traversing the tree from here, and then it go on until here. And then it starts from number 60, and then it go on and traverse the entire mesh. Let's show also the mesh. Wow, no, it's not so nice. Okay. Multi-root node weight tree algorithm. Wow, yet another option. Number 260. And what is this? Interval. But this is also number 260. Yeah, multi-root node weight tree algorithm. So root faces, yeah, based on the weight. Okay. Face side node weight. So based on the face size. Let me see. How can I show it? Okay. Anyway. These are the options for choosing the right algorithm to control the whole process. Alright, let's go on. Create trees, secondary segmentation plus tools. I think this one is not for segmentation. Okay. We start with this mesh. This is something like a landscape. Okay. So using the graph, you can also try to analyze the landscape. Now we derive the graph. Okay, so the graph is like this, showing the adjacencies of the faces, and then you assign the weight based on the face angle. Okay, whether it's very sharp angle or it's not so sharp. And then we use Kruskal algorithm to derive the tree. Okay, so there is no longer any loop. And how many trees are there? Only one. Okay. And then we can split a graph by removing edges that fall into a given interval. So you specify an interval or a domain for the weight, and then the split algorithm can limit the minimum size of the pieces to a specified number. Okay, so weight split graph. We split the graph into many graphs based on the weight. So you specify an interval. So you say, I want to keep the edge that has a weight between 0.253 and 0.570. Okay, and also the maximum number of faces cannot be exceeding 10. Any difference? No difference? Okay, it look no difference, but in fact there are more than one. The graph has been splitted. So if we display only one at each time, then you can see how are they You see, this is the number 0. Okay, if we use a slider and we slide through it, then the entire graph is splitted. So actually you can see this one is a very large one, but with 3 holes. And then there are other smaller patches. Okay, so with this, we split the entire graph. This is the entire graph, but you cannot see the splitting. Okay, here, this part is splitted out from the entire graph. Let me see. Yeah, it is split up. I just didn't realize that. You see, this part is isolated. Okay, but this way it shows it clearer. Oh, you can see that this is also another isolated part and another isolated part. So this is one way so that we can split a graph into subparts. Okay. Or for example, if you prefer to fabricate part of the entire mesh object, okay, and then after you mesh individual part and then you can put them together, so you can fabricate like only this part into one piece, and then after you fabricate all the parts and then you assemble them together. And here is another way to split it. How come it doesn't show? IV mesh graphs. Oh, it is here. Sorry. Okay, let's see how it is splitting. Okay, another way of dissecting, of splitting the graph. So here we start from the mesh, assign weight, create the graph, assign weight based on the angle between the face, okay, the folding angle, and then use this algorithm to derive the tree. You don't set up the weight limit, so we keep all the edges and then split it, okay, using another interval which is from 0 to 0.267. Okay, so I think we keep the flattened edges, but we split the sharp part, and then the maximum face is 20. So the pieces tend to be smaller. Okay, so each of this one will no longer exceeding 20. Let's count for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wow, but it is exceeding 20. Why is that? There are 30 faces. Oh, sorry, minimum faces. So it will try not to split it unless it is more than 20 faces. Okay, so it is preferred that each of these has more than 20 faces, so it won't be too small. Okay, this one is the minimum, yeah, not maximum, sorry. Okay, another way, we start from the mesh, make a graph, and this one, assign the weight value to graph edges based on, again, edge angle, and then multi-root. So we specify one point, number 111. So we check where this point is located. Okay, which face, in which face is this point located? And then we find the index of this face and then send it to make it the root for the search algorithm. Okay, and then to set the interval of the weight inside the interval 0 to 3 doesn't make sense because it should be 0 to 1. Why it said 0 to 3? And then split it into graphs, into trees. Okay, so now we check what are they. Okay, minimum faces 20, maximum edge weight deviation to the tree. Maximum edge weight deviation. Split a tree graph by parsing the graph tree from the root and cutting edges with exceeding that of the parent edge. Okay, so you check the weight of the edge which is being checked and compare that with the edge weight of the parent. Okay. And then the split algorithm can limit the minimum size of the pieces to a specified number, which is set up as 10. Okay, so when the deviation become larger, it tolerate more. Okay, so each piece become larger. And when it is smaller, but still you cannot have a tree which has less than 20 faces. So it cannot be too small. But if you increase this deviation, then it will tolerate more, and then you get larger trees. Okay. There are more options. Okay, let's maybe finish here. Is it okay? Yeah? Wow. Let's go on. Secondary segmentation. Why it is called secondary? First we derive the tree, right? And then we split the tree into subtrees. Okay, use graph and row. Okay, see, if through the unrolling, the different branches overlap, they will be splitted from the main tree. Okay, this is why a different tree can minimize overlap, and thus the number of pieces. So if you choose the right algorithm and with the right set of the weight, maybe you can derive a better tree which maintain as much continuity as possible. But if you choose the wrong, not so good weight and algorithm, then you may end up with a large number of small pieces, which can be very inefficient for fabrication. Okay, a smart choice for a set of edge weights and the right algorithm to evaluate them are important. Okay, but then how can you do that? I don't know. Okay, maybe we need to go through more experiments and get some experience, and also you need to know, you need to understand the algorithms behind that, so you'll be able to do better and better. Okay, especially if this is kind of a actual project, and you really need to derive a very good way for this kind of segmentation. Then the quality and also the efficiency may have a very different. Okay, try this mesh too. Let me see. What shape is like this? Okay, this is a rhino head. And what is this? Yeah, this is the rhino head. But what is this? Oh, this is another one. This is the old one. Okay, let's take a look at this rhino head. Okay, imagine that you want to fabricate this rhino head using maybe like aluminum sheet. Okay, make a graph on it, assign weight. So if you are familiar with the manufacturing process, let me check if I'm recording. Okay, then you may have some good idea how to set weight on it. Okay, and you choose a number of algorithms, and assuming that this is a good algorithm, then you derive a tree of the graph, and then we try to enroll it. Okay. So this is the component that actually enrolled it. So we have the mesh graph. Which phase you want to start with? -1. What does it mean, -1? Okay, you just use the one that has been decided inside this mesh graph, because for each of the algorithm you have a starting, you have a root anyway. So when this one is -1, it means start from the root of the tree. But if you have some specific preference, then you can simply send the ID of that phase to it. What is P? Enroll plane. Onto which plane you want all the pieces to be enrolled. And by default, it's work coordinate X and Y plane. Okay, and the output, the mesh, which is a regular mesh. See, this is a grasshopper mesh. Okay, we can show it. Let's show it. Yeah, of course, this is the unrolled. You see, the rhino has been smashed onto the XY plane, and it becomes like this. And what are these? Split mesh graph. Okay, the list of graph. Mesh graph let's go to IV and shows it with mesh graph. And the mesh graph are shown on the rhino head in 3D, okay? Not as the plane, the smashed planar faces. If we show, okay, so now we can see the nose and the edges. And what is this? Split flat graph. So now here it shows the graph on the smashed faces. Okay, so you see here this shape. It is derived by unrolling this graph. How come this is a loop? It's not supposed to have any loop, but this one is a loop. Wow. Okay, but you see all these pieces are overlapping with each other, and we need to not split. I mean, we simply need to separate them because they are not one mesh. One mesh? How come? Enrolled into one mesh? No. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because it doesn't check for overlapping. Okay? And the split face graph. Okay, and what is this? Unrolled edge split. The list of edge split by the overlapping check process. So these are the edges that need to be splitted. So after this, then we split. Sorry, this one is to create flaps. Okay, so we send the split edges because these are the places where you need to create the flaps. Okay, and then we set up the width and the beaver. How come they use only one? I mean, this doesn't make sense. You should have two splitted slider because these two parameters are independent. Okay, anyway. Okay, and then after we have this unrolled graph, then we want to fabricate it. Okay, so we send the split mesh graph and the split flat graph to this component for SM and SL, and we want to add the flippers to it. So we have the flipper, and here we set up the parameters, and here if you want to have double flipper or only one single flipper, here it is false, so it is single flipper, and these are the edges where you need a flipper. Okay, and then after this you get the cut lines, the folding lines, fold in lines, and this is fold out lines. So this is concave or convex and concave, or the mountain and vertical. Okay, and these are the flip lines. The lines that you don't really need to cut or bend, and actually then it is not necessary to output this line because you don't do anything on this. And the text that you want to get together with the pieces, placeholder. Okay, it is kind of reference plane, reference coordinate for the entire piece. Okay. In no curves for the decoration curves. Okay. And then for them, piece arrangement. We want to arrange all the pieces. Okay, this is the way to arrange them. We want to have the size 23, okay, for X and Y for 23. If you want to make it smaller, then yeah. And then you need to avoid overlapping. And how many rows? With 2 rows, or maybe 3 rows, or 4 rows. Okay. What's this graph? Yeah, you send the split flat graphs. Okay, there are 21, so there are 21 pieces. Okay, and then you send them in, and this is the cut, where you get the cut here. Okay, I'll put the cut. Fi, fold in lines, fold out lines, flat lines, that's 3, and placeholders for every pieces. And then it will arrange all pieces based on the distance is specified for X and Y, the number of rows, and then it rearrange everything. Then you preview each of them with different colors. So you can see the cut lines, the fold-in lines, the fold-out lines are in different colors. You see this very difficult to see, the blue ones. And also the text, you put the text in it. Preview. If I don't preview this one, okay, then it is easier to see. Okay, get it? So after you cut this piece out and then glue them, then you get the rhino head. Actually, I think we should have done this at the beginning of the semester. Okay, questions? I think we stop here. Okay, it's a lot, right? Next week we can go on, and I want to show you the weaving patterns. And also, if you take a look at this Moodle, let's wait until it is uploaded. I have 2 more examples without using Ivy. Okay, not so smart, and it is more restricted. For example, there is a grasshopper example. I call it surface. So you can define a surface, a curved surface, but then it's limited to this kind of orthogonal grid. Okay, and the algorithm simply apply a checkerboard pattern to this orthogonal grid. Black, white, black, white, black, white, alternatively. Okay, and then you think about the black cells are connecting, but then it goes under the white cell. and then going up again, and then going down, going up, going down, going up in U direction. And then the white cells going to the V direction, and also going up and down, up and down, up and down. So the black stripes interleave with the white stripes, one in the U direction, one in the V direction. So it continuously weave into a kind of interleaved pattern for the curved surface. Okay, and actually right now our team is trying to use this for fabricating curved surface, curved concrete panels. Okay, so we use a kind of material and then we cut them into strips, and we calculate the length of it, and then we weave it into kind of fabric. And then we use a placeholder to tighten the edge of the entire fabricate, but it is supposed to be curved, but without the structure, so it is soft, right? And then we put a sheet of silicone film on it, and then grab the boundary to hold it very tightly, and then we pump compressed air into it. So it blows like a balloon, but then it is restricted by the fabric. So we are able to somehow control the surface shape. Okay, Victor is helping one of our graduate students to do this. Okay, it's still under experiment. Okay, and we don't know if it is going to be successful or not so good. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, save this. So if we go to the Moodle for today, 612. I think these are the photos or the grasshopper. Oh no, this is shell. Okay, let me show you what it does. How come it's so slow? Okay, there are two grasshopper scripts. One is called shell, one is called weave. How come? Okay. This is the initial surface. Okay, for example, we want to make a surface like this by weaving strips. Okay, with 38 in the U direction and the 12 in the V direction. convert it into a mesh, blah 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 blah, and we have this checkboard pattern. Together they become the whole, but then this is for example, the white cell, and this is the black cell. And then we get these two set of cells to make what happened? It is stuck. Wow. Why is that? I didn't do anything. Okay, these are the strips for the U direction. Come on. I don't know, I didn't do anything, I just select another set of cells. And you see, these are the strips for the V direction. And then we are going to, it's not so meaningful to weave them in the 3D model, computer model. But the important thing is that we want to output these strips. Where are they? Okay, we have to unroll these strips. I think here I didn't do that. Unroll these strips. What happened? I think I need to quit Rhino and restart. Oh, anyway, the surface is dissected into the horizontal and the U and the V direction. Okay. And we need to unroll these strips and cut it, and then